Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Alright, so ladies, don't you, how do I say this? I'm just going to say it. Don't you hate it when men talk about the book of Genesis and they blame women for the Adam and Eve thing and the forbidden fruit? I have always, and I mean always since I was a little kid, thought something suspect about that. So I haven't heard that. I don't even want to use this word, but I haven't heard that argument in a long time. So there's these two, I'm gonna call them buffoons. They have a podcast, and the video is called "Who is really to blame for original sin, Adam or Eve?" Well, right off the bat, I'm just like, oh God, you're just literally missing the whole damn point. There is no blame. I mean, it is time to come out of the caveman era and into, I don't know if I want to call it modern era or just come out of the cave, man. You know, I made a video just recently about this either or and how that causes blame and fear and somebody has to be wrong in order for someone to be right. And when I saw this video, I was like, oh God, this is literally the either or mentality. Well, who's to blame? Is it Adam or is it Eve? I think you're going to like what I'm about to express to you, share with you. Alright, so if you guys have followed this channel, I think if you've been following it for at least 2 or 3 months or more, I think you're gonna understand this and you're gonna enjoy this. Now remember, the either or mentality automatically causes, well, someone has to be to blame. It's either you or it's me. And I'm saying no, nobody's to blame. That causes you to completely misunderstand those verses. So the problem is when you're using that either or mentality, it forces you to look at everything as right or wrong versus like, hey, there's something deeper than that. So I'm going to read off what I wrote to these guys. It's pretty long. It includes a Bible verse or 2. So I said, blame neither. Your mentality is wake up already. Eve is the right brain. The right brain is the female brain, the emotional, creative, and here's the key phrase, spiritual brain. And it's also the human brain. Alright, let me go back. Hold on. So the left brain is the male, mechanical, logical brain, which is not spiritual. The tree of knowledge is the forbidden fruit. Okay? It is the logical left male brain. This is what God was talking about. God did not want you to get stuck in this brain, which you two are, and which is why you can't understand the Bible. The Bible is a right brain expression and communicated in the right brain language, the internal language, not the external language. Thus, you must learn how to open up to your right brain in order to process using the right brain language processor, because the entire Bible is the right brain language. Thus, you need to use the right brain processor in order to understand it, especially the teachings of Christ. Now, I can't say that about the teachings of Christ. Saying the whole brain is the whole Bible is the right brain, but the book of Genesis is for sure. So I'd have to go through the whole Bible and actually go through to check it. So I'm not going to do that right now. So the right brain is Eve, the left brain is Adam. Interesting, huh? Okay, so by the way, this is what I actually wrote on their page or on their YouTube short. So then I go on to say the right brain is the spiritual open brain, keyword open, thus open to God and spirit. The left brain is the tree of knowledge, thus God didn't want you to get stuck in the logical left brain and think and think and think and go round in circles, and because this is what disconnects you from God. And this is what really is mankind's problem, is anxiety comes from thinking and thinking and thinking, right? And you're not connected, you don't feel grounded, you don't feel down to earth, you don't feel comfortable. So I go on to say, the right brain is the tree of life. The right brain is the visual, auditory, kinesthetic, which means feelings, smell, and taste. So this is your 5 senses, thus the tree of life versus the left brain, the tree of knowledge. Okay, pay attention to the word presence, okay? I'm going to start reading off again. So it says, Thus, your right brain is so if you're in your five senses, see, hear, feel, smell, and taste, you're not in your thinking brain. You're in the brain that senses your environment, okay? This means you're in the present moment. So the right brain is when you're in the present moment. Thus, you're in the present moment, presence of God. Genesis 3:8. Now listen to what it says here, Genesis 3:8. And they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord. The what? The presence, being in the presence of God, being in the right brain, the brain of presence. So one of the reasons why I'm showing this video is because, by the way, we're going 35 miles an hour, and he has no brakes, and he's 58 years old. So this is very exhilarating. Well, what is exhilarating? It's being in the present moment, your right brain, and it does, because it's so physical, the air, the wind, your adrenaline, the rumbling of the wheels on the ground, etc., the trees, cars. It brings you into your five senses. This is why people love to do activities that are physical, because it connects you and opens you up to your right brain. What it really does is it connects you to your body. So when I say right brain, I really mean dropping down inside your physical flesh, your five senses, your physical body. All right, now let me get back to the rest of what I was reading. So then it says, remember Genesis 1:26. This is me writing to these guys. It says, and God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. So notice how it said us. Let us make man in our. So it's us and our. All right. Okay, so now I wrote, what did it say? Our what? Our image, our likeness. That means male and female, left and right brain, thus us and our. Logical people tend to get stuck in the logical left brain. This is why God did not want you to eat of the forbidden fruit, the tree of knowledge. The tree of knowledge is the left brain. The tree of life, the five senses, the present moment, is the right brain. Now the reason why I say that, if you're educated on the left and right brain at all, you will know, like, the right brain is the presence brain. It's when you're in the present moment. The left brain is the disassociated brain. It's literally when you're not connected to the present moment. You're stuck in your logic. It's essentially when you're in a trance. It's disconnected. It's literally called the dissociated brain and the disconnected brain, meaning you're not connected to the present moment at all, and thus you're not open to and or receiving and or connected to God. Okay, let me go back to it. Okay. So logical people get stuck in the logical left brain and close the door, and they tend to close the door to the right brain. If you do this, you are very limited and can't understand most things, especially the Bible. The logical brain is the limited brain. The right brain is the spiritual brain, and also puts the pieces of the puzzle together so you can see the bigger picture. If you can't, let's say you're just having a conversation with someone and you can't connect the dots, you can't understand anything they're saying. This is really important to be able to process in a way that you connect the pieces. Now, I'm not saying you can't use your left brain. What I'm saying is don't get stuck there. So a lot of logical people, like, boom, I don't want to screw the right, like, they will belittle the right brain. They will belittle right brain people. They will belittle the emotional five senses processor. Oh, that's stupid. That's just hooey-fooey. And it's like, what? And here's the thing: people that are right brain, you look at these left brain creatures, and you're like, wow, these guys are so stuck, and they can't even, and they can't even see it. So what I'm sharing is that you get the details from the left brain, then you bring them over. See, the details are each pieces of the puzzle, the bigger picture. So you bring the pieces of the puzzle, the details, over to the right brain, and then you put them together. This is the way you're supposed to process. Well, very left brain people don't do that. And this is why they always have to be right. This is why they always have to argue, because it's either or. Either I'm right or you're right. They never thought of a possibility of, well, what if we just got rid of the either or, right or wrong mentality, and just listen to understand each other and see if we can put the pieces together. that never crosses their mind. Because that's not a possibility within that either or mentality. It's such a limited way of looking at the world. Alright, so now we're almost done here. So let's back up a little bit. So the right brain is the spiritual brain and also puts the pieces of the puzzle together. In other words, it connects things. It's the connector, whereas the left brain is the divider and separates the pieces of the puzzle. Thus, it can't see, it can't hear, it can't understand. It's just a bunch of divided pieces. So then I go on to write, you have eyes, yet you cannot see. You have ears, yet you cannot hear. I can even say you have a brain, and yet you cannot think, because amalgamation, connecting the pieces, is actual thinking. So I write, time to wake up, guys. The clock is ticking. Right brain, love is the fulfillment of all the commands, of all the commandments. Who said that? Oh, that's right, Jesus said that. Left brain, rules. You must follow the rules, or you must be blamed, or you must be punished. Isn't that sad? We have been punishing people who are completely innocent. It's just that they were different, had a different thought, a different perspective, a different idea, and they were punished. They were punished in school. They were punished with a detention, suspension. They were killed by the government. They were put in jail. They were, you know what I mean? It's like, well, they're different. Okay, almost done with this section. So P.S. We are Adam and Eve. This is about us. We hid from God by closing off from the right brain and thus not being open emotionally, thus spiritually. That is the fall. That is the original sin and essentially the only sin. Cutting off from God. Sin literally means to cut off from or to close off from, like closing a door. Now, somebody made a kind of interesting comment. I liked it. Let's see. It says interestingly enough, we never actually read where God instructs Eve not to eat of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. We only see God instructing Adam. And then he goes on to say, I believe things could have gone differently if Adam would have refused, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Still, it's the blame game, right? Okay, so here's the deal. It says, interestingly enough, we never actually read where God instructs Eve not to eat of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil. Now look at what it says, good and evil. That's the either or mentality. We only see God instructing Adam. Now here's why. Because Adam is the tree of knowledge. Adam is in the tree of knowledge. Eve isn't in the tree of knowledge. Eve is in the right brain. And thus you're going to instruct Adam to open up, to not be in the tree of knowledge, to open up to the right brain. Now in this last couple sentences, I'm actually talking about Eve being right brain, Adam being left brain. Now, especially now in the modern era, because women are going to work, paying taxes, driving cars, following rules. Our educational system is very left brain, so rules, the rules of the road, taxes, our computers, business, very left brain. There is a lot of women now that are very left brain, that are very, and they'll even tell you, like, God, I'm stuck in my head, or, you know, like when they open up, like, man, I haven't felt this good in years. Like, yeah, because you've been stuck in your logical brain. So it's both men and women now. I would say it's still the majority of, much greater majority of men. But the percentage of women that are getting stuck in the left brain has increased quite a bit. Oh, and by the way, ladies, when I talk about the corpus callosum and when the child is in the mother's womb and the mother's body recognizes the child, the infant, to be a male, and your body douses the baby's brain with testosterone to kill it, I do not blame you. I do not think this is your fault by any means. This is part of Mother Nature's way of making some males or enough males very left brain, because you're disconnected from emotions and you disconnect from your feelings. It still hurts when you get your hand smashed, but not as much. But the further you go in the right brain, the more sensitive and you can feel things, and etc. And it hurts more. So the reason why Mother Nature does this is somebody has to be the army ant. Someone has to go off and fight in the wars and die. And this is why young men, what they have, so what testosterone does when you have a lot of testosterone, it shoves you into your left brain. Okay. So if you don't have a real good neurological connection from left to right brain, and with a lot of nerve endings connecting left to right, you're very much in your left brain. It's hard to open up to the right brain. Okay. Now for men, the way we essentially open up to the right brain is through sex. After we have an orgasm, there's a chemical called oxytocin. Now for men, it acts as a relaxant. And what it does, it opens that artery in the lower reptilian brain and allows blood to flow up into the larger human brain, thus turning on the right brain. Blood has oxygen and glycogen, which is the number 1 and number 2 fuel sources for our brain and for our muscles. So when you have excess blood, etc., or I should say when you're in a relaxed state, now it feeds your brain its fuel, and click, it turns on. So most men will go into the right brain, but because oxytocin relaxes them, they fall asleep. Another advantage of having a lot of testosterone is it shoves you in your left brain. And this certainly isn't a good advantage, but it disconnects you from reality. So ladies, you know how men say, oh, you're not even in reality. Actually, the male brain is not in reality. It blocks it. See, after I worked with men for about 15 years, the number one thing is I teach men how to open up to the right brain so they can attract women, talk to women, romance women, because it's a very right brain process. Women feel very comfortable with that. And her mating system is connected to her right brain. So when he learns how to open up to it, it allows you to naturally and comfortably open up to yours. So here's what I noticed. Oh, by the way, man, I have to give this plug real quick. I have a book called Crack the Female Code. I would go buy that right now if you really want to understand what's going on between men and women. The other courses, and I mean any of them, I don't care what book or seminar you've taken, will not show you. This course will open the door. Go to my website at mikekollin.com and buy my book, Crack the Female Code. So I noticed that most men hid behind their logic from their emotions. It's like an automatic thing they do. Now, I was raised in an Italian family, very kinesthetic, very emotional, very feeling. So being expressive emotionally and crying really wasn't that big of a deal. But a lot of guys at school, like I couldn't relate to them. They couldn't relate to me. And I'm like, what's wrong with these guys? And so when I started working with men, like opening up to the right brain was the most terrifying thing in the world to them. They were just, oh, like, what's this? I'm like, that's your right brain. So the way men deal with their emotions is they just by the time we're teenagers, our testosterone's kicking in and we're like, oh shit, I'll just go to my left brain. Okay, this is cool. And I'll just hide from emotions. I'll hide from reality. And then anyone who's not in their logical left brain, I'll tell them that they're not in reality. Like, wait a minute, you're actually in the box. You've got the door closed. It's like you're hiding inside. So I'm not going to go any more detail now. I want to get back to the subject, but working with hundreds and hundreds of men, thousands of men, I became really clear to me, like, oh, this is why men don't deal with our emotions. They're literally see, the way men think, well, I am dealing with my emotions. I'm in my left brain. I'm not dealing with them. So essentially, logic is the barrier from feeling emotional hurt. So the advantage I was talking about is when you're a young male and you've got a lot of testosterone, you go into your left brain, you're like, yeah, I'm going to go to war, yeah. And the thing is, your brain, because it's so disconnected from reality, you don't ever actually stop and think and go, okay, wait a minute, what am I doing here? No, you don't realize it until you're in the middle of war and your buddies are getting killed right in front of you. And it is, I'm not going to get any more graphic, but it is graphic and it is brutal, and that's when reality sinks in, and it is a shock. So if the majority of males between the ages of 18 and say 28 or 32, because your first drop doesn't happen until after 32 years old, so you're peaking between 28 and 32, and you're definitely at a very high level at the age of 18, and these are the ages of drafting and going to war, going to the army to get a college fund, army college fund or whatever. So if a lot of these males were very conscious and very right brain, they wouldn't join the army or the military at all. They'd be like, oh, screw that, because they would understand what it really means. They would see the reality of it first before they went. Alright, so now let's cap this off with this. So let's go back to left and right brain, Adam and Eve, the male brain, the right brain, etc. And there's a verse in the Bible, I'm not going to look it up right now, but there's a point, actually let me look it up. All right, so if I remember right, it was so it's Jesus. I believe it's the verses Matthew 19, 3 through 12, are actually, you know what, this actually doesn't quite show. So it says, okay, right before that, it says, in the Bible, Jesus said, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. That's not the verse I'm looking for. It just says, he shall be married one unto she. And in the verse before, it actually said that. Let me go back to that one. Yeah, it says it right here. The Bible verse that says, he shall be married one unto she is Genesis 2:24. Okay. So, I believe it was when I read that when Jesus said that. So I'm going to have to go through my Bible and find that exact verse. But he at one point it says, he shall be married one unto she. And I was like, wait a minute. He shall be married one unto she. That's atonement. So one of the things we learn in NLP and Ericksonian hypnosis is something called rapport. So when two people are in rapport, they're at the same rhythm, they're at the same page, everything is matching up. Therefore, they can understand each other very, very well, and they get along very, very well. So during these trainings, you have to practice and practice and practice and practice rapport skills over and over. Because when you have rapport with your clients, you can help them to open up. And see, if they stay closed, you can't help them. So over a period of time, now this wasn't the first training, I think it was like the third training. So we're like a year into these trainings, these 3-week and 5-week trainings, etc. And they said, do you want to know why your clients are your clients? It's because they're out of rapport with themselves. And we were like, what? It's like, here's what it is. It's real simple. It's the left hemisphere was not in sync with the right hemisphere. Thus, the communication wasn't flowing between left and right. You know those heart monitors at the hospital that go beep, 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 and they kind of go up and down like a wave-like flow? Okay, sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low, fast, etc., or in a certain rhythm. When your left hemisphere and your right hemisphere are at the same wavelength, at the same rhythm, literally they have open communication. The door between the left side and the right side is wide open, and they are on the same page. That is rapport with yourself. Now, do you guys want to know why you like my videos so much? It's because I'm in rapport with myself. Now, guess how you gain rapport with yourself? Meditation, deep breathing exercises, the internal awareness course that I teach for emotional grounding. Emotional grounding literally means you're in rapport with yourself. See, when you're in rapport with yourself, it makes you feel good. You feel comfortable. When you're out of rapport, you're scattered, because one wavelength is beep, 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 and the other one might be beep, beep. So now you got these two brains kind of competing with each other, and it causes you to get frustrated and angry and all that stuff. So when your two brains are on the same wavelength and the doors open between them, it's like you're just going with the flow. Everything is smooth. Now watch this. So I took a girl. Okay, so me and my ex-girlfriend were in our 20s. We went to Oakland to the water, to the lake. I think it's called Lake Merritt. I'm drawing a blank right now. I think it's Lake Merritt. And we went and got a bite to eat just around the corner on the main drag right there, the main strip. And we went into this one place. It was really quiet, kind of dead actually. And we sat up. I think we sat up like at a bar, but it was a restaurant, but there was a bar there. And a girl was there, and she sat kind of close to us. We started to talk. And then I noticed one of her eyes was really dilated and the other one was really small. Now, as we were talking, I began to notice something else. Her hand movements were different. They weren't in rhythm. They were just different. One was kind of scattered and the other one was really smooth. It was like, whoa, it was like looking at two different people. Now, my girlfriend at the time actually got a little scared, and she kind of looked at me like we were really tuned into it. I put my hand on her thigh. I go, it's okay, don't worry. And so I looked at the girl and I said, can I ask you a question? Now, mind you, the whole time I'm doing a series of rapport gaining techniques, because I had noticed this a little bit earlier. So I'd been gaining rapport with her because I wanted her to help her with their problem. Now, I already knew that she had been labeled as schizophrenic. No, I don't mean anyone told me. This is literally like the first time we met this. We just happened to go to the same place that she was at. So while I'm talking to her, I'm gaining rapport with her. So I say to her, like, can I ask you questions? She's like, yeah, sure. I go, so you've been diagnosed as and labeled as schizophrenic, huh? She just looks at me. She goes, how do you know? I was like, no, it's okay. I do something called NLP and Ericksonian hypnosis. I do therapy with people. She goes, oh, okay. And she goes, well, how do you know? It's like, well, I can tell by, your body language is separate and your eyes are different, etc. She goes, yeah, I have a real problem with that. And for a lot of people, it freaks them out. Like, no, it's okay. We're fine. And I said, so you're on medication, right? She goes, yeah. I go, yeah, you're not schizophrenic. So here comes the Jesus stuff. Now watch this. So I began to explain to her that her left and right hemisphere were radically out of rapport, that when she talks with her right hand, it's real fast, real skittish, and kind of jittery and chaotic, and the left one is very smooth. And I thought, man, that's because the right brain is very smooth, that the right brain connects to the left side of the body and vice versa. And I'm explaining this to her. Now, while I'm doing this, I'm moving my right hand up in rapport with one side of her brain, and then I'm moving my other hand in rapport with the other side, doing like a wavelength. And I explained to her, I go, it's kind of like the heart monitor, where one is a wavelength like this, like beep, 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 and the other one's like beep, beep, beep. And I said, what you need to do is you need to bring the two into rapport, meaning at the same rhythm, the same beat, the same timing, etc., the same speed. And as I was saying this, I started slowly getting my hands to come together, slowly, 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 and then they matched, and they were going up and down a very smooth motion in a wave-like motion. As I'm doing this, her pupils matched dilation. The one that was really large began to go into medium. The really small one opened up to medium. Oh yeah, here's the other part. Her face was not congruent. Her left side of the face was relaxed, and the other side was really tight. It was angular. It was like when you're in your logical brain. Did I say that right? Maybe it was the other way. The left side was the left side was relaxed, and the right side was really tight. So what happened was her face started to smooth out and it started to match up, because even her lips at the center line, one was kind of up and the other one was kind of down. And so all of a sudden her face, it kind of made like a funny movement for a while. And then it stuck. I was like, oh, that's nice. And their eyes got nice and everything was balanced out. Now I'm talking to her, moving my hands in the same rhythm, and now they're both going the same wavelength, the same rhythm. And all this thing is happening and processing in her brain. And all of a sudden you could see like, oh, she can see things very clear now. So I stopped and I literally said to her, I go, do things seem a lot clearer now for you? And she's looking around the room. She goes, yeah, it's not chaotic. Now my ex at the time was looking at me like, what the hell? What the hell did you do? So she was lucky. She got to see a lot of the really, really cool things that I did back then. So this young lady, I told her, I said, look, you don't need to be on your medication anymore. And I said I wouldn't recommend getting off them all at once, but what I would do is slowly taper off, etc., etc. And she was just blown away. My ex was blown away too. And I said, what's life like? She goes, everything's so clear. She goes, I don't have that ping pong thing going on in my head. Now let's go back to where the Bible says, he shall be married one unto she. Now you understand, at the time I was studying NLP. I was going to NLP training seminars, certification courses. I was taking psychology classes at college. I was studying hypnosis, and there's something else. Oh yeah, meditating. And I remember when they said, it's your two hemispheres are out of rapport, and that's why you're having all these problems, and that's why they're your client. And rapport simply means that left and right brain are in sync, okay? And, oh yeah, it was church. So I had just learned probably that year, a little bit earlier, Pastor Rex was talking about this, what atonement. The word atonement is two words, at one. So to atone means to be at one. And then I said, I just learned this in hypnosis and NLP about the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere being at one, and the left brain is the male brain and the right brain is the female brain. Oh, also, by the way, psychology teaches you that too. That's not just a hypnosis thing. And he said, yes, that's correct. The left brain is the male brain, the right brain is the female brain, and the goal is atonement. You want them to be at one with each other. He, left, shall be married one unto she, atonement. So that was talking about, it wasn't necessarily about marriage between a man and a woman. It's marriage between yourself. So when you basically become get atonement at one with yourself, that is when you connect with God. So you become the bride of God. And this is heaven. This is, I don't like to say it this way, but I'm going to say it this way. This is how you get to heaven or connect with God. Marrying another human being and you're both out of rapport with yourselves, and thus you'll be out of rapport with each other. Trust me, that will never get you into heaven. Here's another thing I want to point out. Everything that you learn is on levels. It's not like, well, it's only this one thing, okay? There are different levels, from the physical level to the mental to the emotional to the spiritual, etc. So you will see the same exact thing on different levels. Alright, God bless you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please click subscribe, click the like button, go ahead and make a comment. And remember, if you want to go ahead and make a donation, there's a PayPal link right there in the description box. God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.